association, pussy by association.
Bing. So this is a very traditional thing for people to have for breakfast on the way to work in Thailand. It's pork, and there's like lots of bits of pork fat in there as well, which make it really juicy and tasty. Oh my God, it's so good. This is one of Thailand's most revered street foods. Sticky, fatty, char-grilled pork skewers and khao niao, sticky rice. Oh my goodness, this is the street food I dream of when I'm not in Thailand. Now, it might look like just pork skewers and rice, but it's not. It's quite a bit of technique here. Let's go through it together, my friends. Let's make mo bing. I'm going to start off with the sticky rice first of all. Now, there are a lot of kind of like Thai in the know kind of tricks to making the perfect sticky rice. So I'm going to run you through it so that you too can also have the perfect sticky rice. Now, I have here some Thai sticky rice. It's sometimes often sold as glutinous rice as well. So that's what you're looking for. And you'll notice compared to like regular jasmine rice, so the grains look more opaque here. And the first little trick is that you need to soak it overnight before you cook it. So here's one I started soaking yesterday, and you can see that the rice really has soaked up some of that water. The water's a little bit cloudy, the rice is kind of plumped up a little bit. Now you can drain the rice into a sieve or a colander. Then to cook the rice, I'm using a very traditional setup here. I have like a conical shaped steamer basket, and this is a special pot that kind of snugly fits the basket, and this lid here as well. Now you could also do this with just a flat bamboo steamer over the top of a regular pot of boiling water, but this is going to give you the best texture if you can find this little setup here. Okay, take the lid off and then line the basket with a very light cloth like a cheesecloth or a muslin cloth or a light tea towel. Place the rice into the cloth and then fold over the tops of the cloth to completely cover the rice. Put a lid on top and then steam that for 10 minutes. Now I want to kind of flip the rice over so that it cooks evenly. So use the steamer basket to kind of juggle and flip the rice over. If you're doing this in a flat steamer basket, you could just use a spatula to kind of like flip the rice parcel over. Lid on and steam for another 10 minutes. The final trick to perfect sticky rice is to take it out of the steamer now. Be careful here because the steam is really hot, so use tongs if you need to. Pop it onto a tray, open up that cloth and then tip the rice out onto the tray. Use a spoon to kind of spread it out a little bit. This is going to help like make things evenly sticky and make sure we don't have like one big sticky clump of sticky rice. You want things sticky but not like firm and clumped together, if you know what I mean. If you're in Thailand, you might have one of these cute little rice baskets. I've just lined mine with some banana leaf. That actually gives it a really nice flavor and stops it from sticking to the basket also. So you can put your sticky rice into the basket, and that is our cute little sticky rice box. We'll save that for when our pork is done. Pork skewers. Okay, so I know that if you're not in the know, you might think this is just literally about marinating some pork and popping it on a skewer. Not really the case. There is a little bit more to it than that. You need two different bits of the pork. You need pork loin, which are these big pieces here, and then you also need pork back fat. So that is the very traditional fat that we use in this particular skewer. So take your pork loin first, and you want to try and slice it as thinly as possible. In fact, this first slice probably isn't thin enough. I want you to go really thin, more like this kind of thin, where you can almost see through the pork. That's going to keep your pork really lovely and tender. You'll see what I mean later on. Once you've sliced your pork loin, just pop that into a bowl and set that aside for later. Now we're going to get into the pork back fat. Take the pork back fat and slice it a bit thicker than your pork loin pieces and pop that into a separate bowl. For the marinade, you want some garlic. Now, I always pop my garlic into my mortar and then just crush it a little bit so it makes it really easy to take the skins off. Add in some coriander root, so you can just chop the root end off and a little bit of the stem as well. Then pop in some coriander seeds and some white peppercorns. Use your pestle to pound this into a rough-ish kind of paste. This is the sort of situation you're looking for here. Spoon that out onto your pork, and then the rest of the ingredients are very simple. You just need some palm sugar. Now, my palm sugar is really nice and soft, so I can just add that straight in there. If yours comes in a big block, you might need to just shave it very finely with a knife so that it will dissolve in the marinade. Add fish sauce, Thai black soy sauce, or ketchup mayonnaise, either one is fine, vegetable oil, salt, a little bit of cornstarch, and some coconut milk. Now, use your hands to mix all of this together. You might need to like squish that palm sugar to make sure that it dissolves, and then set that aside for at least an hour or so. Let all those flavors make friends in there. To start off with, you want to make sure that you soak your bamboo skewers, and if you're using metal skewers, you don't have to. This is to make sure that your skewers don't burn when they're on the grill. And start with a piece of fat. Now, take a piece of pork and thread it onto the skewer like this. You don't just want to shove it on any old way, because then the pork kind of like clumps up and gets really hard and not very tender. This way the pork stays really lovely and tender and in nice thin slices. Do a couple of pieces of pork and then fat, and then another couple of pieces of pork, and that is your pork skewer. To cook the skewers, there are multiple different ways to do this. I'm going to go more traditional and use a charcoal grill, but you could use a frying pan, a grill plate, a regular gas barbecue, whatever you like. The charcoal does give it a nice flavor though. Grill the skewers 2 or 3 minutes each side, and I'm actually going to baste my skewers with a little bit more coconut milk. I've made this nifty little brush out of some pandan leaves. Kind of adds a bit more flavor, also kind of looks fun too. Once your skewers are cooked, and I have to admit mine are like slightly charred. I kind of like them charred, but you know, typically on the street they might not be so dark, but whatever. I think the caramelization makes it taste really good. You can also use scissors to kind of like snip off any bits that are a little charred, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think it's delicious. Now here we are, we're ready to go. I've got my little basket of sticky rice here. I'm going to place my pork skewers down, and you can just see how like sticky and glossy they are, which is amazing and just what you want. Oh, so good. It smells so good. Wow. That pork is so tender. It just like melts in your mouth, and the marinade makes everything kind of just a little bit sweet, a little bit salty, a little bit of your sticky rice. And there you go, my friends. Mo Bing, a very, very common, popular, favorite kind of Thai street snack, often really eaten for breakfast in the morning. Now, this is my kind of breakfast, I have to say. Now that's the sound you want to hear when you're thinking crispiest fish and chips. And not just any fish and chips. We have a sweet, savoury curry sauce, creamy mushy peas. That's right, my friends, you've seen me make better than takeout fish and chips. You've seen me make best Australian fish and chips. But now I'm going to make the best British fish and chips. Controversial, because I'm Australian. Let's see how it goes. Now, I want to make sure that we've got the actual legit British fish and chips going on today. So I'm going to call my food editor, Amy. She's English, and she's going to give me the lowdown. Hello. Hi, lovely lady. Are you okay to help me out with some Britishness things? What is a classic traditional British fish and chips?
Perfect British fish and chips has to be the ultimate ratio, the butter to fish ratio. It's got to be spot on. We don't want too much butter, and the chips, none of that skinny malarkey. We want chunky. It's got to be chunky chips. Sometimes we'll be fighting over the crispy bits that are in the bag, and they'll be stuffed with paper and also malt vinegar.
Can we talk mushy peas?
We can talk mushy peas, but if you don't want mushy peas, you'd have curry sauce or gravy, the English style curry sauce. It's thick, it's kind of really a luminous yellow. It's not kind of an Indian style. It's not hot, it's not spicy.
Okay, all right. So we've got the batter to fish ratio. Chips must be chunky. malt vinegar,
Yes.
and you can choose between a mushy pea or a curry sauce. Curry sauce is like generic yellow, thick kind of curry situation if we're going to go with that. Thanks so much, lovely. Such a big help.
Don't worry.
Okay, bye. The first thing I want to do are my chips because I want that ultimate crunch, and there's a little bit of technique involved here. So start off with your potatoes. A good chip potato is often like a Sebago or a russet potato, and you want to peel your potatoes and then cut them into like nice big chunks. Remember, we want chunky fat chips here, not little French fries. These chips are now going to be cooked 3 times. So the first time is going to be a parboil. And you want to start with cold water, not hot water, because if you start with hot water, the potatoes cook too much on the outside and then they're not cooked on the inside. You get the kind of gist of it. And you want to let these cook for around about 15 minutes so that they just kind of tender on the outside. All right, let's have a look at these. So you can see that the potato is just kind of soft on the outside, but still firm when you give it a tap. So that's perfect. Strain the potatoes and then spread them out on a tray, pop them into the fridge, and you want to let them cool down for a good 20 minutes or so. They need to be really cool to the touch. So you want to start off with these guys, and in your supermarket you're looking for what's called dried peas. They're also called marrow fat peas, which is an odd name, but that's the name. So they're kind of like hard and firm like this. You need to add in some bicarb soda, cover them with boiling water, and they need to soak overnight. This kind of like starts the process of softening them up. So when they come back, this is what they look like. They're all kind of plump and they've gone a lot more green and look far more appetizing if you ask me. But we're not done yet. You need to drain the peas, rinse them because of course you don't want that like bicarb flavor in there, and then pop them into a pot, cover with 2 cups of water, bring it up to a boil, and then let those peas cook for about 45 minutes, coming back and stirring them every so often, or until they look like this, where when you stir them, you kind of get a mushy pea. That's what we're after. Now you can add the final little bits and pieces. You want some salt, a little dash of sugar, some butter, some cream, stir all that together, and there you go. That's your mushy pea. So here we are with our cooled chips. Now you'll notice here that even though they've been parboiled and they've been in the fridge, they're a little bit wet on the outside. That's going to cause you issues if you put wet chips into hot oil. So just make sure that you just press them out with a little bit of paper towel. Make sure they're super dry. The first fry is just about making them really lovely and tender. Put them into the hot oil, let them kind of simmer around in there, and they'll need about 12 minutes or so until they're tender through the center, but they're not really that crispy on the outside yet, just a little bit golden. Pull them out, drain them on some paper towel, and then they go back into the fridge for another 20 minutes. Now, I'm not entirely sure about how this curry sauce really goes, so I've kind of added my own twist to things. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments will tell me if I've done it wrong. But Amy said this curry sauce is kind of like thick and fluorescent yellow. So I'm going with that, and I'm going to start off with a little bit of a roux base. So butter. When it's starting to foam, then you can add in the flour. Give that a really good whisk for about a minute or so, and then stir in the curry powder. I'm using like a really bright yellow curry powder because I want that like iridescent yellow color. Now you can whisk in the chicken stock, whisk in the apple juice, and a little bit of ketchup here as well for some color and some extra flavor. Keep whisking. If you need to add some extra stock, if it's too thick, you can do that. And then when it looks all creamy and lush, just like this, simmer with a little bit of salt, and that is your curry sauce. Let's now wrap it all up. So just before I get to my fish, I want to do the final fry on my chips. So these have been back in the fridge, they're cool to the touch, and now they can go back into the hot oil. And when they look beautifully golden and crunchy, just like this, they're ready. So pop them to your tray, just on some paper towel first of all. Just dab them with a little bit of paper towel to get that excess oil off. Then hit them with some salt. You can hear the crunchy. Get in here and break one open. You can see that it's all lovely and fluffy on the inside. That's what we're talking about. Now we need to do the fish. To make the fish batter, you want to start off with some plain flour that's been chilled in the fridge, baking powder, and a little dash of turmeric for some color. Then place some corn flour into a large bowl or tray, and now we can mix the actual batter. So take your cold soda water, pour it into the flour mixture and whisk until you kind of get like a pouring cream sort of consistency. It also doesn't matter if you've got lumps, because lumps actually kind of give you more crispiness. Now take your fish and then salt it, add it into the corn flour first, then add it into the batter, and then carefully add the fish into your hot oil. Now keep that fish fillet moving around the oil so it gets evenly cooked and crispy. Now the other thing is that Amy kept talking about lots of little crunchy bits, and I love the crunchy bits as well. So to do extra crunchy bits, just get your fingers and just kind of like swirl it around, get lots of batter in there, and I mean, look at that. It's already starting to look really good. And then you're going to need about 5 or 6 minutes here until that piece of fish is golden and crispy. Take the fish out, drain it on paper towel, sprinkle with salt, and now you're ready to assemble. Ah, that's so good. So I want to put my fish down here, mushy peas, and that sauce. There you go. Classic British fish and chips, done my way. Ah, the sound of that crunch, so good. Fish is perfectly cooked. Yeah, look at that. Look at that, Dax. Does that not look good?
Oh dear.
I've probably just done something very blasphemous then. I forgot the malt vinegar. Oh my goodness, Amy would kill me. Malt vinegar on the chips. I'm very excited. Oh my goodness. Ah, I love the sauce, the curry sauce flavor. I mean, I think I've got the vibe right. It's got a bit of that kind of like katsu curry sauce flavor, but it's like, it's just ultra comforting. I didn't think I was a mushy pea girl, but I think homemade mushy peas might be just that little bit extra. Maybe it was the extra butter I put in. I put quite a lot of butter in there. So good. I mean, as an Australian, I don't think I can say it's better than Australian fish and chips, so we can't do that, can we, Dax? No. No, he's
Probably
shaking
not,
his...
no.
No, probably not.
No.
No. I mean, check out that steaming, sizzling going on there, the sticky sauce, the glossy chicken. And now for this one, my friends, I'm going to recommend something I never usually do. We're going to use chicken breast.
I am a legs and thighs girl. I'm a legs and thighs girl.
Legs and thighs only, please. But I have the most amazing technique for getting super tender, juicy chicken breast. Let's do it, my friends. Let's make Hoisin chicken stir fry. So I have the perfect recipe for the marinade, for the sauce, but first of all, we need to deal with the chicken. So I am using chicken breast, as I said, and the problem with chicken breast starts with the fact that it is a very lean meat. So there's not much fat giving you any kind of juiciness. So if you have a look at your piece of chicken here, you'll notice it does actually have a grain, similar to a grain that steak has. So I'm going to slice across the chicken grain this way, and this is going to give you a more tender result when you bite through into each piece. Now, keeping your slices beautifully thin here also helps to keep your chicken very tender in the stir fry. So we're not done yet with the tenderizing of the chicken. The marinade is also really important. Start off with your soy sauce, dark soy sauce, Chinese Shaoxing wine. That one's optional, you can leave it out if you want to. Now we come to the tenderizing. So I'm starting with bicarb soda. Bicarb soda helps with tenderizing, also like encourages the chicken to brown up faster in the pan so it's not sitting there and getting kind of dry and cooked through. Getting cooked through, you want it cooked through because chicken that's not cooked through isn't that great. Okay. The bicarb soda helps to tenderize the chicken and encourages it to brown a lot quicker in the wok so it's not kind of getting all tough and dry. Corn flour is the other little trick here. It kind of gives you a lovely layer of velvety richness to the outside of the chicken, like it tricks your mouth into thinking it's more tender and soft. For the stir fry sauce here, we're going a little bit extra special. So we're not just gonna do like a soy sauce combo, but we're gonna add in some hoisin as well, which gives us a lovely sweetness. Soy sauce, Chinese Shaoxing wine, sugar, a little bit of vinegar. Now it's these small little details that really make a difference. The vinegar gives you a little bit of tang that balances the sweetness in the sauce. A little pinch of ground black pepper, and just give that a mix. One other little thing here, and you're totally gonna think that I'm being pedantic, but trust me, all the details make a big difference. So garlic. What I find is that a lot of people will slice the garlic or finely chop the garlic so that it burns really easily in the pan. So what I like to do is do a really rough chop. This is the kind of situation that you're looking for right here. Hello, what are you doing? Oh, I've just made some chicken stir fry. I just wanted to see if you wanted to come and have some. And we cooked your steak as well, so you got steak and chicken stir fry here, baby. Alright, okay. Good-o. Bye-bye.
Denied?
No, they're coming.
Oh, they're coming, cool.
Mother No's not wasting chicken
No,
stir fry.
all right.
Or any stir fry. Or any food for that matter. She's like, I'm there. Coming. Excuse me, everyone, just personal phone calls. All right, so I have all my stir fry things here. Stir fry etiquette, very important to get your wok super hot. I'm using my Mako, so it's pre-seasoned, has a beautiful flavor, lovely patina, which I love. But if you're not using a wok, you can just use a very wide pan. So the thing about the pan or the wok is that you want everything to kind of hit and sear as soon as it touches the heat. Add the oil to your very hot pan, then add in your onion. And the technique here is that every ingredient gets time to kind of get some chariness, and also you allow the pan to heat back up again before you add the next ingredient. And now I'm gonna add in the chicken. Spread it out and then let it sit. Do not touch the chicken. I repeat, do not touch the chicken. Let it sear and crisp up and get all kind of brown and lovely on the bottom, around about 3 minutes or 4. See how you go.
I'm curious. In the recipe ingredients, you put ingredient number 1, Mako?
I did, yes. No, I don't do that. Seriously, this wok was revolutionary for me. Things just taste better in the Mako, including chicken breast. Now give everything a bit of a stir fry. You can see we're already getting some really lovely color on that chicken and already looks really lovely and glossy and sticky and yum. Then you can add in the garlic. This is the perfect time for garlic because it's not going to burn, which it would have if you added it in at the beginning. Toss that around, add in your capsicum, give that a bit of time to get a little bit tender. Now for the stir fry sauce. So one more tip here is if you pour the stir fry sauce around the edges of the wok, you're getting the sauce bubbling and sizzling and getting all sticky and sweet straight away. Toss all of that through, now throw in your spring onions, toss all of that through, and this is what you have, my friends, a sticky, glossy, amazingly delicious chicken stir fry. And there you go, guys. Some really simple little things you can do to make a chicken stir fry like over the top good. The real test though is, what does this chicken breast taste like? It's game changing. It's literally changed the texture of that chicken breast so much, it just melts in your mouth, a little puffy cloud.
Little puffy cloud?
Sort of, like a cloud. It's too late in the day to think up really good metaphors, right, Dax? Oh, that was a simile actually, technically. It's delicious, try it, and tender. And the chicken is cooked through, so winning. So when I see this, I get very excited. If I had to choose one iconic Thai street food dish to eat for the rest of my life, it would be this one. And this is a tough one to master at home, my friends. There's that glass shattering batter-like crispiness to the chicken, there's the broth, and of course, there's the rice. Let's do it, my friends. Let's make Khao Man Gai Tart. Is this like your...
It's pretty scary.
Yeah, okay. Dax is scared of the cleaver. Okay, so the broth might seem like just a little addition at the end, but actually it's the source of a lot of flavor for this entire dish. So let's give it a go first of all. The broth is going to start off with some chicken wings. Now take them and just halve them through the joint. Doing that will allow more of the flavor and gelatinous kind of textural goodness to come out of those wings when it's in the broth. Now let's go in with the aromatics. So I'm starting off here with a rather large daikon radish. Probably only need half of this one. If you can't get a daikon radish, then you could also use a turnip. It'll still give you that same kind of like vegetable flavor background in your broth. Pop that in with your chicken. I also want some lovely ginger slices here. And now we're going to go with some spring onion. Again, we want to slice through the spring onion to get that flavor releasing in the quickest possible time. White pepper and some salt.
Top that up with water and bring that to a boil. Now here is the first of the many technical details in this video. One, I want you to take all of that scum off the top using a strainer or a spider. That way we're taking off the scum, but we're leaving behind all the lovely juicy chicken fat. Once you've removed everything that you can, just turn the heat down and let that broth bubble away for 30 minutes. Now you can see we have a beautifully flavored broth, and look at that lovely oil sheen on the top. We're going to use that, my friends. That is pure flavor. So scoop that off the top and pop that into a wok. And now let's get started on the rice. The additional flavorings I need for the rice are some coriander, and I'm just going to use the root end because it has loads of flavor, but to me it's like less of an intense coriander flavor than the leaves when they're fresh. So if you have a non-coriander person in your life, they might still like this rice. The key though is that you need to crush it up. I also need some garlic and some ginger. Turn the heat on and just let that garlic and ginger kind of do its thing in there. When the garlic's nice and soft, now you can add in your rice. I'm using jasmine rice. Pour it in and then make sure it's kind of like sizzling away in that chicken fat. And I want each of those grains beautifully colored. Give this like a minute or two. Now the rice can go into my rice cooker pot. Now take 2 cups of liquid from your broth. Another reason why the broth is so important. Then pop that into your rice cooker and let it cook. Now, of course, the chicken and the chicken rice is really important, and I spent so long trying to figure out how the street vendors do it, where the chicken's like all crispy and the batter is amazing. And so the batter itself is a mixture of plain flour, rice flour, corn flour, white pepper, garlic powder, and baking soda. This is going to help us get a really light, crispy texture. And now whisk all of that together, add some water, keep whisking until you get a really smooth batter. To coat the chicken, start off with your chicken thighs. I like to use kind of smaller thighs here so they cook quicker. Coat them in some flour, then into your batter, and then into your hot oil. The perfect sizzle. It's just what I want. Can fit about 3 in here, I think. Cook the chicken in the hot oil until it's beautifully golden. Flip it over every so often. I think about 8 to 10 minutes for this size of chicken thigh is really what you want here. Pull them out of the oil, drain them on a baking rack, sprinkle with some salt, and then set them aside while you get your plate ready. First of all, the rice. Now have a look in here because this is one of the magic moments for this recipe. The rice is beautifully separate, it's not sticky or gloggy, and then look at that shine. Each grain beautifully coated in that lovely flavor. And in true street vendor style, I'm gonna unmold it onto my plate. You also need some sauce here. Now the sauce is really important because in Thailand, we don't just use any old sweet chili sauce for this kind of chicken. We use the sweet chili sauce for chicken. Not just with sweet chili sauce, but a particular sweet chili sauce that's made just for chicken. It should say sweet chili sauce for chicken right here. Now let's get back to the chicken because this is what we're all here for. I mean, just have a listen to this crunch, please. It's so satisfying. Look at that. Chicken onto the rice. Add your decorative cucumber. Look, it doesn't have to be decorative, but I think it's kind of cute. Then you just serve it with your broth. I put a little coriander in there as well. And that, my friends, is Thai fried chicken and rice. Khao man gai tod, just a thing of beauty. Okay, so this is the deal. You got to get some of the sauce and the rice. The chicken is beautifully juicy. The crunch on the outside is perfect. The flavor of the rice is so intensely beautiful with the garlic and the ginger. Everything is just spectacular. Yum.
If we're talking about the world's greatest rice dishes, biryani has to be right up there at the top. The problem is that it can be complicated and you need to have a rigorously tested recipe to get it just right. Now, I've broken it down into very easy steps so that by the end of this recipe, you can be making the perfect lamb biryani. On my channel, typically, lamb videos are like a curse. They just never do well. I don't know why. I don't know why no one wants to see me cooking lamb. But I'm going to do it anyway because I love lamb biryani and I'm hoping this might change your mind. So there's a lot to do here. We've got a marinade. We need to make a curry. We've got fried onions. We're blooming saffron. We're soaking rice. We're making sides. Oh my goodness, there's a lot to do. I'm going to break it down so it's really simple for you. And I promise at the end it will totally be worth it. Now here we have like the holy trinity of Indian sort of base ingredients. Start off with some ginger, garlic, green chili and salt, and then just pound that till it's nice and smooth. Put that into a large bowl and we're going to add all the other spices and aromatics here. So we've got ground coriander, garam masala, turmeric, Kashmiri chili powder and some yogurt. I give all of that a mix, and the beauty of this kind of marinade is that you've got the spices for the flavor, you've got the hint of chili and the garlic and the ginger, and then the yogurt also gives you the tenderizing kind of aspect that you want. The point with the lamb is that you want to cut it into bigger chunks than you actually think, because when we go to make the curry kind of simmers down and the lamb pieces get a lot smaller. Start with some really nice big strips and then chunks that are pretty large, sort of about this size. The lamb can go into your marinade. This marinade needs at least 2 hours to properly do the flavoring and tenderizing that I want it to do. Don't skimp on that because you need it. So here is some lamb that I marinated yesterday, so we can go ahead and make my curry. You want to heat up some ghee in a pan and then add the lamb. Now just toss that around, keep it sizzling. I don't want a really hard heat. I just want those spices and aromatics starting to break down. So after 3 or 4 minutes in the pan, now you can just put a lid on, turn the heat down to medium-low and let it do its thing for about 2 hours or until that lamb is fall apart tender. So what I want to find out here is if my lamb has actually gotten all the way tender, and let's have a look. Oh my goodness, so good. So this lamb curry part of the recipe is something that you could do the day before. It doesn't have to be a project all in one day. But now that I have my lamb curry, I need to get on to making all of the other components before I can start building the biryani. So I've got some hot oil here. I'm going to fry off my red onion slices. And here's the thing, you need to be really patient. I want that onion to turn deeply golden and crispy, and that's going to take at least 10 minutes. But you need to be here looking after them like a little baby, little fried onion babies. Take the red onion out and just let it drain on some paper towel. You want to start off with basmati rice, and you'd think you'd just throw the rice in the pot, which is not the case. You need to do a bit of soaking first of all. So let's get these grains soaked. Set that aside for 30 minutes. Do not skip the 30 minutes. Now when it comes to cooking the rice, I actually want to infuse the water with these spices first of all. So I've got cloves, cardamom pods, a cinnamon stick, bay leaves, and some salt. I'm just going to bring that water up to a boil. Now I realized after I put the water in this pot that it's too small, so make sure your pot is big enough to hold the water and the rice. Drain your rice, transfer it into the water, bring it up to a boil, and then let it cook for 5 minutes. The rice won't be cooked through at this point, but don't worry, it'll finish cooking later on. You want to strain the rice, but keep all those beautiful spices because we do want that for our biryani later on. What is saffron blooming? Sounds like flowers or something weird. It's not, it's just the way we release the flavor from saffron, which is very expensive, so you don't want to stuff it up. Now, start off with milk. Don't turn the heat on yet. Your saffron goes in, and the key to blooming saffron or releasing saffron's flavor and color is not to shock it too much. It's very temperamental. So just put the heat on really gently and then just swirl it around just until it's like blood temperature. Put your finger in there and you should be able to just maybe slightly feel that it's a little bit warm. Take it off the heat then and then let it sit for 15 minutes. So we've had quite a fun time so far. Look at all the bits and pieces we have ready. In addition to what we've done, I also chopped up some fresh mint and some fresh coriander. And now we are at the really fun stage, building the biryani. Okay, so start off with the lamb in the bottom of a heavy based pot, add half of the rice and just really kind of pack that down over the top of the lamb. Now sprinkle with half of the crispy fried onions and then sprinkle with some chopped coriander and mint. Then pack on the rest of the rice and then just do that again. Rice, onion, herbs, and then finally we have our saffron milk. Just drizzle the saffron around in a circular motion and that will give us like a mix of the golden and the white grains that we want throughout the biryani. Cover that with 2 layers of foil, put the lid on and then turn the heat to medium-low and cook for 15 minutes. Then turn the heat off and let it rest for another 20 minutes without peeking. Don't open the lid. While your biryani is cooking, you've got time to make 2 really quick sides here. So we're going to make a cucumber tomato salad, which is just cucumber, tomatoes, red onion, chopped coriander and mint, some cumin and some salt and lemon juice. Give that a mix and just pop it in the fridge until you're ready to serve. Another optional side is an onion raita. You need natural yogurt, red onion, green chili, some coriander and mint, a little bit of salt, mix that and leave it until you're ready to serve. So here we are, it's the moment of truth. And to be honest, if you've got a recipe that isn't perfect, there's nothing you can do right now. But I'm confident because I tested this recipe literally like a million times. So let's get in here. Oh, that smell right now, so good. The onions, the curry, the spices and those herbs, amazing. And you want to dig right in there, right to the bottom, scoop out what you can. And then see that layering? You've got the lamb, you've got the different grains of rice, yellow, white, the herbs, everything. Ah, so good. So there you go, friends. It's a bit of a journeyman kind of recipe, but so totally worth it in the end. I mean, look at that rice. It looks like a celebration on a platter, literally. And then you've got all the sides here. So I'm gonna grab some rice and some of my tomato cucumber, a little bit of raita. And I mean, this bowl looks so good right now. There's just so much flavor going on. Oh my goodness. The rice, the spices, that lamb curry just permeates everything. All the herbs and the onion. Oh, the rice grains are perfect too. Oh, it's definitely worth it, guys.
Singapore laksa is much more unique compared to laksas from other countries.
In Singapore, I would say it's the coconut milk.
For me, it's actually the cockles.
Chili spice that goes into it.
Spicy, saltiness.
It's super flavorful, and also how you can taste the different types of flavors within the dish.
When I have Singaporean laksa, I feel like I have health in a bowl.
Singaporean laksa, yummy.
The soup, the broth, the gravy, just all of that into one is just perfect.
There are many different styles of laksa, but here in Singapore there's one that's particularly well loved, and that is Katong laksa. So I've come to this area of Singapore called Katong for one of the city's most famous laksas. The founder of Katong Laksa is Ms. Nancy Khao. Now, Nancy took me into the kitchen to share with me the secrets that make a great Katong Laksa. Do you think that's like a secret flavor? Does that give some extra flavor, the cockle? Everyone we spoke to said the cockles make it special. And are they cooked or are they?
Yeah, they can cook together. Very small, cannot see so much soy, so they cook. Oh, this one is the laksa leaf. Just put it on top.
She's amazing, huh? You must be an expert to make the good laksa.
She's the queen already. Queen of laksa.
The queen of laksa. I love it.
Oh, wow.
What a cool dude! Straight up, this bowl smells amazing. It has all the bits and pieces that I would be expecting. I can see the cockles there, I can see shrimp and the noodles that have been cut up. So here they cut the noodles so you don't even need chopsticks. You just use a spoon and some dried laksa leaf there as well. What I also need is actually this. So I've been told that I need to put all of the sambal in for the extra flavor, which I'm about to do right now. Oh wow, it smells so good. Let me get in here and try. Oh wow, yeah. Okay, the flavor is immediately a massive explosion. Wow. Oh, it's spicy, has that lovely creamy coconut broth as well. The sambal not only adds some extra spiciness, but also some extra funk from like the dried shrimp and all of the extra ingredients in that sambal. So for me, this is like a quintessential Singaporean experience. But I think if you're at home and you want to try a Katong style laksa, well then I have a recipe for you. Okay friends, I spent so much time in Singapore not only eating Katong laksa, but also talking to chefs and locals about how to make the quintessential recipe at home. So here we go, we're gonna do it all. The paste, the stock, the soup, the sambal. Let's do the paste first of all. I'm gonna start off with my chilies. So you need two different types of dried chili. I've got the large dried chili, which gives us the color, and the small dried chilies, which give us the heat. Now I've soaked these in some boiling water for around about 30 minutes until they're really lovely and soft. Just kind of like drain out the water, give them a bit of a squeeze. Now you can take them out and just give them a rough chop. Same with the smaller chilies. Pop them into your blender. Keep that soaking water for later because we might need it when we blend the paste. And now the shrimp paste. I think the shrimp paste really gives your laksa that very authentic taste, the pungency, the umami. And what you need to do to get the best out of it is roast it. So wrap it in foil, pop it into a hot pan, just keep it moving around 2 to 3 minutes. Now I know for a lot of you, shrimp paste isn't exactly like the most delightful smelling ingredient. You will enjoy the flavor more. And then take it out, unwrap it, and put it into your blender. You also want to dry roast your coriander seeds, so toast them up until they smell lovely, pop them into a mortar and use a pestle just to grind them. We need shallots. Next is galangal and ginger. Now, for those of you who are not completely familiar with Asian food, galangal is not ginger, ginger is not galangal. This one here is the galangal. It has a very pine foresty like citrus flavor. This one here is the ginger, very earthy. Both of them add different things. Seek them out and use them both in this paste. Galangal, ginger, garlic. The lemongrass, you do need to bruise it a little bit with the bottom of your knife, finely slice. Here we have a little bit of a substitute. Now, candle nuts typically are used in a traditional laksa paste. So I can never get a hold of candle nuts very easily outside of Singapore. These are macadamia nuts. They're gonna add that creaminess and also help to thicken up the soup. Here we have the dried shrimp, which I have also soaked in some boiling water. Just give that a rough chop as well. Pop that into the blender. Blend all of that, and you'll find that your blender probably gets a little bit stuck. It'll need a little bit more liquid. So the chili soaking liquid you saved from earlier, just spoon some of that into the mix and keep blending. Open it up, spoon in some water, keep blending, do that a few times until your paste looks like this. Lovely, smooth, smells spicy and aromatic. And here's my little trick. So I have learnt to mix the turmeric in after because it makes my blender yellow. It's a simple reason. So here we go, just mix that in. And this, my friends, is your laksa paste. I love the smell of making this laksa paste. You know, for me, this kind of laksa is such a beautiful marriage of so much history and so many cultures. For me, it's a very iconic Singapore dish for those reasons. I spoke to so many people while I was in Singapore, and as a food-obsessed nation, they have a real love affair with the laksa flavor. It's so iconic that you can find the laksa flavor on pizza, ice cream, and even a laksa bun. Good. There are many different ways to make sambal, many different preferences. Mine is for a very kind of like spicy yet sweet, sticky, jammy consistency, very similar to the one that I had at 328 Katong. Now, I want to take out as many seeds as possible. The seeds kind of make the sambal bitter. So take your dried chilies that have been soaking, open them up, and just use your knife to scoop out the seeds. Do the same with the fresh chilies. Take some more dried shrimp, they've also been soaking, roughly chop those, and then pop all of that into your blender with some more shrimp paste that you've roasted off in a frying pan. Add in shallots, garlic, palm sugar, oil, and then blend until it's kind of like a rough-ish kind of paste. I kind of don't mind if this one's a little bit chunky. So to cook the sambal, you want to start off with some oil, just a little bit because we do have some oil in the mix as well. You want to keep your sambal stirring, mixing, heating for around about 15 minutes. So keep that temperature at a low to medium. This smells so good. I literally had just the best time eating everything in Singapore. Bang, did we eat everything in Singapore? Singapore so much because you are eating so many different cultures. Chinese, Malay, Indian, even, oh my goodness, I went to some amazing like Michelin star restaurants. Bank, you certainly ate everything. Season with a little bit of salt to taste. So this is now looking perfect. A very classic sambal, something that you can use in any kind of noodle soups. Add it to a stir fry, it's really great. And it's also gonna add all the flavor that we want to our laksa at the end. Next, we're going to make a prawn broth from scratch. This is another element that if you make yourself really gives you the best authentic Katong laksa. I have peeled these prawns, so I'm going to use these in the laksa later on. But what I want here is actually this. So the shells, the heads, all those bits and pieces. And you want to fry and sizzle those shells until everything's like a bright orange color and smells really toasty. So once they look like this, beautiful color, I want you to just get your spoon in there, just kind of give it a bit of a squish. We want to extract all the flavor, and now you can go in with your water. I'm using about 8 cups here. Bring the stock up to a simmer, and at this point you'll see there's like a whole bunch of like scummy kind of foamy stuff sitting on the surface. Use a ladle to remove as much of that as possible. Now turn the heat down to a medium. Just let that bubble away for 30 minutes. So here we are, we have a broth that is smelling very prawny in a good way, and I just want to strain that off. And again, use your spoon to kind of squish and extract more flavor from the shells, and that's the broth done. We're nearly there, stick around. Let's make our actual laksa soup. Heat up your pan, add a little bit of oil and the paste we made earlier. And another really key step to getting the best laksa is to make sure that you're giving your paste time to bloom. So give this at least 4 to 5 minutes. Keep the temperature on low. And once you are coughing and your paste looks like this and smells really beautiful, then you can add in your coconut milk and your prawn broth. Ah, wow, look at that color already. I'm already impressed with myself. Get so happy when I make these things. Okay, this is looking good. It now needs a little bit of time, but I'm also gonna add a bit of seasoning here as well. So I've got some palm sugar, some fish sauce, and some salt in here as well. Let that bubble away for around about 15 minutes just to let all those flavors make friends in there. Woo, it's gonna be spicy. For the noodles, if you want that really authentic experience, you want to go for laksa noodles. And this is what they look like, but you could use regular rice vermicelli if you can't get a hold of this thicker variety. Just add them into some hot water and give them about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so here we go. Our noodles are ready. Just give them a little bit of a drain. For the true Katong laksa experience, use scissors to cut the noodles so that you can just scoop them all up in your spoon at the end when you're eating it. No need for chopsticks. Use your noodle cooking water to cook the remainder of your ingredients. Add your prawns in, add some cooked prawns to my bowl. Additional toppings here, which I quite like, are fish balls, fried tofu, and some bean shoots. Just warm those through in the hot water also. Now, one of the things that so many locals in Singapore told me they love about Katong laksa is the blood cockles.
Cockles.
Crunkles.
All the cockles.
So here we go. They typically look like this, and I've just blanched these in some hot water for about 3 minutes or so. And you can then open them up, just pull them out, and then you have your blood cockles here. Now, these are probably difficult for a lot of people to find around the world. I'm here in Bangkok, so these were very easy to find. If you can't find them, maybe use a local clam in your area. That would be fine too. And now ladle over your beautiful laksa broth. Make sure it's nice and hot. Pour it over those cockles so they warm through. And now you can add in your laksa leaf. What is laksa leaf? It looks like this. It's also known as Vietnamese mint. You can just finely slice it, add it into your bowl. Final piece here, a little dollop of sambal. Okay, I want to get in here and try this broth for you guys. Oh my goodness. Making it fresh like this is so rewarding. My taste buds are literally singing away. Okay, I'm going to mix all this through now. Mix in that sambal, mix through the noodles. And then in true Katong laksa style, I can just scoop up a spoonful of chopped noodle and broth the depth of flavor, everything. So amazing. I loved learning about the flavors that make a Khao laksa unique to Singapore. And while this recipe is great, it's not going to compare to going and experiencing the real thing, sitting there street side among the shop houses, enjoying a true, authentic bowl of Khao laksa. Spicy mayo, crispy prawns. I mean, there's a reason this retro classic dish is still an all-time favorite. But the secret is in the crispy coating. It's got to be just right so it soaks up the right amount of sauce. Let's do it, my friends. Let's make bang bang shrimp. So there seems to be a lot of confusion about the name of this dish. Some people call it bang bang shrimp, some people call it dynamite shrimp. Let's not even get into like the prawn and the shrimp thing. What we're gonna make are like some really crispy, delicious prawns tossed in like this really sticky, spicy mayo sauce. It's gonna be great, doesn't matter what you call it. Let's start with the prawns first of all. And now here's the thing, I think a lot of people season their batter or their coating, but actually what you want to do is season whatever it is that you're coating instead. That's going to get the flavor right in there. So salt, ground white pepper. Next thing we need is some buttermilk. So the buttermilk gives us like a creamy, tangy flavor, but also is the binder for the crispy coating. That comes a bit later on. Leave that off to the side while we make our spicy sauce. For the spicy mayo sauce, you want to start off with some whole egg mayonnaise. I really like the creaminess of the whole egg mayonnaise here. Add in some sweet chili sauce and then some sriracha. Now I'm adding a lot of sriracha because I like my bang bang shrimp to be spicy. You could actually mix up how much sweet chili or sriracha you want depending on how spicy you like things.
What kind of sriracha are you using?
I'm using my coconut sriracha, Dax. If you must know, your favorite hot sauce from the fridge.
It is amazing. Anyone listening must try it.
I really like it.
It is my favorite thing you make.
Thanks, Dax.
I could order an entire container. I love it. You could pay me in that sriracha. I'm happy. Just give me that. I'll work for sriracha.
Yeah, I'm not sure how your family would feel about that, Dax. Now let's do the frying, because you know how much I like to fry stuff. Now I think the best way to do this is in like a clear station. You have prawns, you have your corn flour, you have the oil. Now to test if the oil is hot enough, just use a wooden spoon or a chopstick. And when you can see furious little bubbles here, that's when you know the oil is good to go. For the crispy coating, take the prawns out of the buttermilk and place them into some corn flour. That would be corn starch if you're in the US, same thing. But what you need to do here is coat the prawns and kind of like pat that corn flour all over so you get a craggly kind of coating going on. This is going to crisp up in the oil and then also soak up all of that sauce later on. And just let them fry and crisp up like 3 or 4 minutes until they're lovely and golden.
It'd be funny if the editors put a picture of me on the side of the road, like as a homeless guy with a sign saying we'll work for sriracha.
And the golden rule for anything coming out of hot oil is hit it with a little bit of salt. To serve in the classic way, I think you definitely need some iceberg lettuce. So very finely slice the lettuce so that you get nice little shreds like this. Place your crispy prawns into a large bowl, drizzle over that spicy, creamy mayo sauce, and toss everything together until every little last bit of that crispy coating is soaking up all of that sauce. You can like hear the crunch. Spoon your prawns out onto your crispy iceberg lettuce, top with a little bit of coriander, that's optional. And here you go, bang bang shrimp or prawns.
Get back in the 80s.
You sure are. Do you reckon this is an 80s dish? It's an 80s dish. It's an 80s dish, isn't it? Doesn't mean it's not good. You know what's so good? That coating has managed to retain some of its like crispiness even with that mayo coating on it. And it's kind of like soaked up all the spicy flavor. Yeah, I like it.
Smoky, charred, wok-tossed noodles. Pad See Ew has got to be one of the simplest stir fries, but there are a lot of ways that this simple dish can go wrong when you're making it at home. And there are lots of ingredients, things like the rice noodles, like the green vegetables, that you might not be able to get outside of Asia. Now, I have a solution for all of these things and a way to give you that authentic Pad See Ew flavor at home. Let's do it, my friends. Let's make an easy version of Thai Pad See Ew noodles. One of the most most important parts of a pad see ew recipe is the protein, both the preparation and also the cooking. So we'll get to the cooking later. So the marinade process starts with the chicken itself. Now I'm using chicken thigh here. You guys know I am a thighs and legs girl because the thighs and legs retain their juiciness. They have a lot of flavor, and when you're talking about a very simple stir fry dish, you want everything to be adding to the dish, not taking away, like chicken breast takes away. It's dry, it just is not good. Unless you make my chicken stir fry recipe that I made the other day, which is really good. But anyway, we're talking about thighs here. The way you slice is really important for any kind of stir fry. You want it nice and thin and long, just like this. Add in some soy sauce, it's just regular soy sauce, some sesame oil. That's gonna give you a little bit of a smoky flavor, and then some white pepper. The white pepper is really important here. It gives you the characteristic pad see ew flavor. Once that's all mixed, just set it aside while you get everything else ready. Now let's talk about vegetables. So this is the vegetable that you would use if you were in Thailand or you have access to an Asian grocery store. It is Chinese broccoli, also known as gailan. Now you could go ahead and use broccoli or broccolini here if you can't find this vegetable. It does require a little bit of prepping here because, as you can see, the stems are really thick, so we want to thin them out. And then also just at the end here, this part can often be kind of tough and dry, so cut those bits off and then slice your stems on the diagonal, giving you really lovely fine pieces of broccoli stem that are going to cook really quickly in your stir fry. For the leafy part, just cut that into chunks, and you want to keep the stems and the leafy parts separate because they're going to go into the stir fry separately. Now for the noodles. So what I really wanted to do with this video was give you guys some tools to get a really authentic flavor pad see ew at home, but I do recognize that oftentimes those like really authentic rice noodles, the fresh ones, are very hard to find. So instead, we're going to use udon noodles, which seem to be far more common in Asian grocery stores or even regular supermarkets. And now we're ready to stir fry. Now the timing is really important here. I want you guys to get a pot of boiling water going on the stovetop, as well as your wok, because the noodles need to go straight from the water into the wok. You'll see how it all works. Let's get going in the wok first of all. Add in your oil, then add in the marinated chicken and spread it all out immediately so the chicken starts searing and getting lots of really good color. Let that sit on one side to sear for about a minute and then just start tossing the chicken around. So if you toss and stir at the same time, you're going to get a really great wok action here, which creates steam and smoke, and that's what's going to give you that really true wok flavor. Once the chicken is almost cooked through, then I'm going to add in my garlic, and I do that second so the garlic doesn't burn when I'm high heat cooking the chicken. And then you can add in your stems. The broccoli stems just need to be tossed through for another 1 or 2 minutes so that they're tender but still crunchy. And now this is a really great time to pop your noodles into the boiling water. So put those in there and just let them cook away while you finish the stir fry. Move everything over to the side, and then this is how we're going to do the eggs. So I've just lightly whisked 2 eggs in a bowl, add a little bit of extra oil on the empty side of the wok, pour your eggs in, and then just use your spatula to move the eggs around just so they're starting to form an omelette. Let that omelette set, and then use your spatula to toss the egg through the rest of the stir fry. Now you can toss through your leafy green parts, and now the noodles are ready. So use your tongs, get them straight out of the boiling water, toss them into your wok, and here we go with dark soy sauce. That color, oh, so amazing. Toss everything around, and then when it looks beautifully mahogany dark and so yummy like this, then you're done. Now don't go anywhere yet because I know I've got to plate the noodles, but there's still one more thing you need for an authentic pad see ew flavor, and that is the chili vinegar. So I've got some chilies here, white vinegar, that gets mixed together, and that is your essential chili condiment that you need for this dish. Place your noodles into your serving bowl, add a little bit more white pepper, which, as I said, is another essential flavor here. And then drizzle over your chili vinegar. I've got an optional bit of chili here as well. This is Thai chili powder. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of that on there as well, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And here you go, my friends. This is pad see ew noodles. And there you go, guys. This is my version of pad see ew, done with some different noodles, but you will get the very authentic Thai pad see ew flavor you're after. Give it a go because it tastes amazing.
Oh, it's so good. You know, it's the simple things sometimes that really bring you the most joy. Yeah. Yes, because this morning when I told my mum I was making pad see ew, she was like, well, they're not the right noodles.
Yeah, I don't know about this noodle. I don't know about this noodle. Maybe I should eat it.
I think you should eat it.
You had better
My
night?
noodle, but very good, very nice, very tasty.
Thanks, Mum. Do you want to speak Thai? Say whatever you want. Tell Dax.
อร่อยมาก
Great.
ปลาซีอิ๊วอร่อยมาก
If you love noodle soup as much as I do, then you've probably mastered a pho or a Japanese ramen at home. But what's next? Let me introduce you to Xiaomian noodles. This is a style of noodle from the Chongqing province in China. It is spicy, it is fragrant, it is so ridiculously amazing. Let's do it. So the deal with these noodles is that classically it's all about the chewy wheat noodle being seasoned with a whole bunch of aromatics and like chili oil, and then obviously a little soupy business going on. But I'm also going to add some stewed beef. I'm going to start off with some chuck steak here, and you want to use chuck because you kind of get this lovely fat marbling, a little bit of connective tissue, and doesn't everyone love connective tissue? So I'm going to get some salt here. Now to start off I want some oil, and then we want to hear some sizzling here. What we're doing here is actually trying to brown the beef so that we get some flavour. So it's all about that Maillard reaction, the browning, the caramelisation, and that is going to be the flavour base for our stew. I now want to deglaze the pan with some Chinese Shaoxing wine. And then we've got all our aromatics. So I've got some spring onion, ginger, star anise, Chinese 5-spice, and this guy here is doubanjiang. This is a fermented chili and bean paste from Sichuan in China, and it is like salty and spicy and packed with umami and like all good things. Soy sauce and a little dash of sugar. Mix all of that through, and this is already smelling so good. I'm gonna add a little bit of water here, cover that up, turn the heat down low, and then let that simmer for about 90 minutes or until the beef is really soft and tender. So here we are, the big reveal. So if we just get our forks in here and just pull that apart, so good. To make the chili oil, you want to start off with some small Chinese dried red chilies. Now the trick to using these chilies for a chili oil is that you need to take out as many of the seeds as possible. So you get it out on your board and then just start like chopping through those chilies. And once I get to this point, I'll pick up my chunks of dried chili, give that a bit of a shake, and check out all those seeds that we can now get rid of. The first part of preparing the chilies involves toasting them in a dry wok or a pan. This part gets a little nasty. It's in like deep chili breathing. Who's gonna cough first, Dax? You or me? Oh no, it's me! So when you get to this point, okay, so when you get to this point, oh no. So when you get to this point where you can't breathe, you want to add in a little bit of oil, and now give them another few minutes to get nice and toasty. Now you can add in the Sichuan peppercorns and just toss those around for another like 20 seconds or so. Transfer the chilies and peppercorns into a spice grinder or a little blender like this one, and just blend until you've got a very coarse kind of powder, not too fine. I still want to see some little chunks of chili in there. Spoon your chilies and peppercorns into a heat-proof jar. Heat up some vegetable oil until it just starts to sizzle when you put a wooden spoon in it. That's how you know it's kind of hot enough. Now pour the oil over the chilies. Perfect. The real key to this dish traditionally is actually all the seasonings and the aromatics that happen in the noodle bowl. So let's get some of those things done. I'm going to start off with my peanuts, and I just want to dry roast these until they've got a really lovely deep caramel color. Now just pound and grind those peanuts fairly coarsely, not too fine. And now let's talk about pickled mustard greens. Traditionally, you would use a Sichuan preserved vegetable. I couldn't find that in my area, so this is a Thai pickled mustard green, which will give you the same kind of tangy pickled tart flavor. Just want to finely chop it and set that aside for later. And now we can build the bowl. So we want some garlic, ginger, spring onion, add in a little bit of Chinese black vinegar, a drizzle of sesame oil, and as much of that chili oil as you think you can handle. Be careful, it's hot. And then some hot chicken stock. So this bowl is now ready for the noodles, and I'm using some thin wheat noodles here. So when the noodles are cooked, you can just pop them straight into your bowl. Ah, that already looks so good. Let's add the stewed beef, pickled mustard greens, peanuts, and coriander. I love coriander, the devil's herb. So here it is. I mean, is that not a thing of beauty? You've got that beautiful chili oil, all those aromatics in there, the beef, the noodles. Ah, so excited. Okay, so you mix it all up. Oh my goodness, that just looks so good. Here we go. Oh. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot, but it's so delicious. Do you know what's so great? It's literally like a million explosions of flavor in there. You've got garlic and the ginger. Ah, that beef is so soft and tender. Amazing. I swear to God, you have not tasted a spicy noodle soup until you have tasted this one. It is worth it though. Rich, sticky, unctuously tender pork belly. Oh, this is like every Asian kid's comfort food. And I'm going to show you how I make mine at home. Let's make soy braised pork belly and egg. For the marinade, you need to start off with some coriander root. That is this part of the coriander stem. Pop that into your mortar, add garlic and whole white peppercorns, and then pound that to a really nice smooth paste. Then you can add in some shallots and some palm sugar. The palm sugar usually comes in quite firm little blocks, so you need to kind of chop it up or shave it with your knife. That's why I like to pound it into the mixture here. It just makes it easier to dissolve. The pork itself needs to be cut into large chunks. It will kind of shrink down as it slowly braises, so you want to start off larger than you think, around about 2-inch cubes. Place your pork into a bowl, add in your paste, and now all the seasonings. So I have some dark soy sauce. This is going to give us a lovely mahogany caramel kind of color. And then I want regular soy sauce and fish sauce here too. Give all of that a really good mix and allow the pork to marinate if you can. Like 2 hours or overnight is great. But you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and use this one as it is, and it'll still be really great. So I'm going to cook the pork now, but you kind of need to be a little bit careful here because we have a lot of sugary and soy sauce kind of ingredients here, and I don't want any burning to happen. So kind of get your pan heating up, but not too hot, just like a medium heat. Add the pork in, and it should just be like kind of gently steaming at this point. I don't want any like harsh searing because I don't want any burnt flavors. Keep tossing and mixing that pork through as it heats up for around about 4 or 5 minutes, or until you're just starting to see the pork color a little. Now I'm going to add in the spices. So I kind of want the flavor profile of Chinese 5-spice, but I'm going to use some of the whole spices here. So I've got cinnamon stick, some cloves, some star anise, and now I'm going to go in here with some shiitake mushrooms. So I actually soaked these in some hot water till they were nice and soft, remove the stems, cut them in half, so the mushrooms go in, and then also I can use the soaking liquid as my braising sauce. So pour that into the pot, give all of that a really good mix, and then I'm going to cover that with a round of baking paper. I've just cut a little slit here in the middle so some of that steam can escape as the pork cooks, and then pop a lid on, turn the heat to low, and let it simmer for about 2 hours. So I did come back to check on the pork a couple of times to make sure it wasn't burning on the bottom, but it's come along beautifully, and oh my goodness, it smells so good. Let's open this up and have a look. The pork is deeply, deeply tender. That sauce has evaporated down into a really lovely, sticky kind of caramel. Put the eggs in. These are 5-minute 30 eggs. Gently toss those eggs through the sauce and then let them simmer for 15 minutes with the lid on so they just take up a little bit more color and flavor there.
Now we're almost there. So I'm gonna stir through a little bit of freshly ground black pepper. This really adds such a great, fresh, sort of spicy hit at the end here. I like to see just how tender the pork is. Well, to be clear, I like to show you guys just how tender the pork is. So if you have a look here, I mean, that pork is literally glistening. I mean, okay, like it just falls apart just with a spoon and it's just like melting apart. Ah, so good. All right, I'm gonna get this into my serving bowl. Some eggs. Few that are just cut in half, a little bit of coriander, and there you go, my friends. Soy braised pork belly and egg. And then when you're eating Thai food, it's really about the food seasoning the rice, if you like. So this is a really lovely, intense, sweet soy sauce flavor. The pork is intense, so you only need a little bit, and you sort of add it to your rice, and then it flavors the rice, basically. Oh my God, so good. It's got this really lovely, delicate spice flavor, so I can taste the star anise and the cinnamon. The sauce is salty, but not too intense, and just a slight amount of sweetness, and the pork is just to die for.